Welcome, welcome, welcome. One Elizabeth to another Elizabeth. Delighted you're here.
You.
Hi.
Thank you.
Where are you joining us from?
From Auckland?
Wow. And you found us on Eventbrite?
Yes, I did.
Outstanding.
Correct.
Outstanding. And how old is your student, or is this for you?
So it's for my daughter,
Uh-huh.
and she's 18 now, last year in school.
Okay. Excellent. Delighted you're here. Delighted
Thank
you're here.
you.
Have you all been thinking about a debt-free degree and how she might earn that?
Yeah, yeah. Just
Excellent.
looking at what the options are, what is available.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I am delighted you're here. And of course, at the end, you'll have time to ask questions. So
Okay.
be thinking of your questions, and however long we need to stay on, Elizabeth, that's what we'll do.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Everybody who registered gets the recording. So some people will have submitted questions ahead of time, and some will be here live. So we'll just see.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is your daughter there with you, or are you just tuning in?
Yeah, no, she's not with me.
Okay.
I'm tuning in my lunchtime during work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I must not have understood you, because I thought you said Arlington. Where are you calling from?
From Auckland?
Wow. And you're at
Yeah.
lunch right now.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Where are you?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay. No, yeah. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand, and we
Wow.
are actually yeah, 12 p.m. now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I am delighted that you're here. And is your student wanting to come to the US for college?
Yeah, we're just looking at options, looking at what's available.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I do not proclaim to be an expert on any other system other than colleges here in the US. However,
Right.
I've worked with international students who want to come to colleges here.
Right.
And honestly, Elizabeth, is it okay if I call you Elizabeth?
Sure.
Honestly, I think what you'll hear tonight will get you thinking about things to think about in New Zealand,
Yeah.
even if I don't have that information. So about
Okay.
their specifics. So that's great.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yes, 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 yes. I thought you said Arlington, which is near Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so anyway, and it's funny because there's a part in here that I tell a funny story about when I presented in New Zealand about this. And so that's interesting that you're here. Delighted you're
Yeah.
here.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, we are going to go ahead and get started. And as I said, for those of you that are watching the replay, we're delighted that you're here. And Elizabeth is joining us from New Zealand. So this is Atlanta Elizabeth talking to New Zealand Elizabeth live. And then for the rest of you watching the replay, and we are delighted. I mean, talk about, you just never know, right? You just never know. And so one of the things that I always say is love yourself enough to graduate fully debt-free from college. The other thing I say is I would love to teach you how to earn a debt-free degree. So you're going to see a lot of hearts. You're going to see a lot of love. It's just thinking about how can I make sure that I don't encumber here in the US the average $75,000 in student loan debt. So all of my programs follow the acronym GRIT. Again, for those of you watching on replay, you can stop and take notes. For those of you that are here live, take notes, and you will also, as I said, get this replay. So take as many notes as you want. So the acronym is GRIT. I'm going to go over what that stands for and then do a deeper dive. So the G is grants and scholarships. The R is return on investment. The I is the I in all of my programs, and that's interconnected. And the T is my triangle approach. So that is SM, the student money, FM, your friends, your family, your folks, the people you're familiar with, and then OPM. And Elizabeth, do you by any chance know what OPM stands for?
No.
It stands for other people's money.
Okay.
Yes. So what's funny, Elizabeth, those of you that are just tuning in, Elizabeth is calling in from New Zealand. So I presented this probably about 3.5 years ago to a group in New Zealand, and they sincerely thought I was saying opium, like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
student money and then there's your family money and then go sell drugs. No, 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 not opium, OPM. It's my US Southern accent that got a little confused. And so I'm delighted that you're here, Elizabeth, to bear witness that I didn't say let's go sell opium. So here are some things about debt-free degree. It's very simple. Some of the things you're going to hear, you're going to think, well, why didn't I think of that? Or how do I put that in place? But it's not easy. It's going to take both resilience and tenacity. So it's one of those things where this is much more a crock pot type of degree than an Instapot. So Instapot or microwave, you put it in there, boom, then everything's cooked and you're ready to go. The Instapot way to college here in the US is to go to financial aid, take all the loans, and figure out how to pay them off later. The crock pot way is planning ahead and doing what you need to ahead of time. So I like to say it's simple, but not easy. Here in the United States, and I don't know about New Zealand, but student loan debt is crippling. So the average student loan debt right now is $75,000, which I am so old that is more than my very first mortgage. It's just crippling. So Elizabeth, do you all have the student loan crisis, the debt crisis for students that we experience here in the US?
Absolutely. Like I see some of my colleagues, younger colleagues as well, that have studied, and they say they're paying back their student fees. They've got this amount to pay back. And so a lot of people that I meet are talking about their student loan that they have to repay. So definitely, I think we have the same problems.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm even more delighted that you're here. Excuse me. And you can share this with your colleagues too. So here in the US, so I'm just gonna go global and say it is a myth to say that debt is a prerequisite for adulthood. Oftentimes we're surrounded what I call the human algorithm. So if you've got all these people that are saying, I had to take student loan debt, I had to take student loan debt, there's no other way you can do it. Your teachers are saying that, your parents are saying that. There are parents who are part of my Patreon that they're still paying off their own student loan debts. And so a lot of people just think debt is the only way. And I just spoke to a young lady today, and she has opted not to go to college for now because she didn't want to take the debt. And she thought the debt was the only way. And so after having a conversation with me, then of course she's examining her options. So debt is not a prerequisite for adulthood. So let's dive into the GRIT blueprint. That G stands for grants and scholarships. There is 46 billion with a B, $46 billion in grants and scholarships available here in the US. I have no idea what it's like in New Zealand. Oh, excuse me, Elizabeth, do you by any chance have an idea?
I do know of some scholarships, like the schools that you can go through and apply to university for scholarships. Like my daughter was telling me, there was a young lady that sent them a message in her school that she's received a scholarship for the University of Auckland, and she gets like free accommodation, fees paid. And there was one other thing, I can't remember. But yes, there are some scholarships that are available, not
Wow.
many, but there are some scholarships.
Wow. Wow. And so your daughter has already secured, did you say like
No,
room and board? Or no, that was her
no,
friend.
no. Yeah, it was a friend that
Okay.
secured a scholarship. Yeah.
Gotcha. 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 There's also here in the US 1.7 million private scholarships and fellowships. So these are ways for money. And again, internationally, great ways to search for that. And there are organizations here in the US. We partner with the Scholarship Informer, and they may very well do international scholarships, Elizabeth. So if you want that information, remind me at the end and I'll give you Gabrielle's information. So the R is return on investment. And basically, what I did is I took all 50 states here in the US and I put them in what I call a random generator. So I put all of them in there and I just picked a name. and it showed me, you know, a state. And I basically went to that state's flagship institution. So what that means is whatever state it was university of that state. And then I went to that school's website and I added up tuition, fees, books, room, and board. And it came up to $12,270. And then I multiplied it times 8 because oftentimes, although there's no educational value to graduating in 4 years, that's a lot of pressure, a lot of things that we hear, you know, did you graduate in 4 years or can I do it in 4 years? And if you multiply it times 8 semesters, it's $98,160. However, many of you are aware that $12,000 a semester can be quite low. It's not the lowest. You certainly can do it a lot cheaper than that. However, it's on the low end. It's not even probably average. And many times the highest graduation rate for many of the schools is actually 5 years, which is times 10. So you can see how it's ballooning up to, you know, could be $150,000, $200,000. So you need to think about that begin with the end in mind. My Patreon members get to ask questions that I'll answer on the webinar. And 2 of them have already submitted questions, and one of them has to do with this. And so I'll dig in a little deeper at the end. The other thing is, many times students will say to me, there is no way I can work full time. I just absolutely cannot do it. It's just too much stress. I can't do it. I am on board with that. I'm not trying to talk anybody into or out of working full time. I just want you to understand, much like the human algorithm that says you have to have student loans in order to, you know, graduate and be a productive member of society. There's also this messaging around, oh no, you just need to be a full-time student. You don't have to work, you know. And so in some ways, I just want you to think about that if you work 40 hours a week, which is a full-time job here in the US, if you work 40 hours a week, that's 24% of your week. So we're all given 168 hours a week. And even if you work 40 of those, you've still got 76% of your time that you can do school and life. And where can that 76% be spent toward a debt-free degree? Again, we're not asking you to work full-time and be in school full-time for the next 12 years, right? We're asking you to put in a little bit of work on the front end so you can think about graduating debt-free. So, Elizabeth, I have no idea if you know who Tyler Perry is or Medea. Do you know who this is?
Yes, definitely. I've seen his movies.
Yay, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So Tyler Perry is from here in Atlanta, and
Right.
he plays Medea, who is the character on the right. And what I often say is, sometimes I think, Elizabeth, what did you do with your time? You know, we had this 168 hours, and did I use it efficiently?
Yeah.
And I always come back to, how did Tyler Perry use his time? He's an actor, he's a producer, he owns his own studio. He bought a former military institution that had gone offline and turned it into his movie studio. And so during COVID, he had all these crews, and I mean, he put out so much in terms of movies and TV shows because everybody was there quarantined together. So if you think about your time, your stress level, and your health, what do those look like if you walk across the stage and you graduate debt-free versus what do those things look like? What does your stress level look like? What does your health look like? Your physical health, your emotional health, your intellectual health. What does that look like if you graduate with the average $75,000 in student loan debt? Those are 2 different things, right? And so thinking about beginning with the end in mind, that return on investment. 37% of all students in the US who owe student loan debt owe over 6 figures. And right now in the United States, the figure is 1.76. I actually am writing my debt-free degree book. And so I was doing some research, and actually that's gone up to 1.77. So I need to correct that on here. So it's continuing to go up. And so debt-free degree is all about making sure we don't contribute into those trillions of dollars. So here are a few ways that students can either make money or save money in terms of helping to pay down that cost. So number one is textbooks. You can ask the professor, are we going to be using them? You can rent a textbook. You can share a textbook. You can ask the professor, hey, I know you've assigned the 11th edition, but I found this 9th edition. Would that suffice? And kind of go and compare. Lots of different ways to save money on textbooks. Another way is to think about perhaps not having a car on campus. So obviously there's the wear and tear on the car and the insurance, etc. And there are sometimes exorbitant parking fees. There's one school here in the US, their parking fee is $800 a semester. So if you're there those 5 years, that's the highest graduation rate, you have paid that school $8,000 in order to have your car there on campus. It's just really something to think about. Another way to save money is with your student ID. And so, Elizabeth, I don't know if y'all do this in New Zealand, but here, many of the colleges, when you show your student ID, you get a discount in the town around the school. And so I don't know if y'all have that there.
Yeah, there are student discounts for certain things. When you have the student card, even with the school card, I mean, you can get discounted bus rates and things like that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I had one student that said he went and got his haircut. I think it was Monday through Thursday before noon, and the haircut was $5. So lots of ways you can save money with your student ID. Another great way is making money through a job. Now, obviously, we've talked about the full-time job, and so that's one aspect. But even if you're working part-time, really being strategic and thinking to yourself, okay, if I'm going to spend my time and my zone of genius and my expertise in exchange for somebody else to give me money, then what else are they going to give you? So is it a networking opportunity? Is it an opportunity to grow more in your field? Is it a discount on food? So when you're thinking about jobs, be strategic about how you're taking in this taking the job and making sure that the benefit is several things in addition to the money. And then that last one is networking. So over on my Patreon page, there's a video where I talk about Monique. And I met her at the nail salon. And one day I went in to get my nails in the middle of the week. So I love to get my nails done. And the lady that was doing my nails said, oh, are you not working today? And I said, I am. I work from home. I own my own business. So Monique was sitting beside me and she said, oh, what do you do? And so, of course, everybody looks young to me. I had no idea how old she was. And she was a high school senior, so the same age as Elizabeth's daughter. And we had this whole conversation. And so she had school A, where all of her school was paid for, plus she was going to get a $5,000 stipend. Or school B, where she was going to owe $10,000 a year. And so it was like school A, she's making money to be a student, and school B, she's going into debt every single year. And she had this very specific major, and she really liked school B. It's a very prestigious school. And honestly, I think at the end, she probably is going to do school B. So even though we had that conversation about how you can put things together to make sure that you get what you want, but also that you're earning money, she was still so caught up in, I want this degree from this school. So again, thinking about that return on investment, thinking about ways that you can save yourself heartache down the road. So again, she was in a nail salon, so I don't know what she finally decided, but that's where she was leaning when she left. So here are ways that your friends, your family, your folks, the people you're familiar with, that they can help. So for example, we have holidays coming up, birthdays. Lots of people will say, I have 7 days in the week. I need 7 pairs of pants and 7 shirts, and I don't need 27 different kinds of t-shirts, right? And so what some families do is say to their student, I'm going to provide you what you need, the basics, but all of this extra stuff, instead of spending money on that, I'm going to put it in a college account for you. And many of the banks, I don't know about there in New Zealand, but the banks here, you can get a high school checking account or a college checking account, and you can get a savings account attached to that. And so that's what a lot of people will do is they'll say, I'm going to give you $500 for your savings account to just put there. Do you all do that, Elizabeth? Have like a high
Um,
school checking account?
yeah, I think they do get. My kids have an account. They do. Yeah.
Good, 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 good. And another thing is something called GoFundMe. And you set up a campaign, and we see GoFundMe's for, weddings or honeymoons or housewarmings. And so a lot of students now are doing a GoFundMe for college. Hey, I need money to go to college. Can you just please donate some money here? And so that's a great way. A third way is a registry. So again, like a baby shower, like a new home, uh, housewarming, you can register. Now, some people may say, a pair of extra long twin sheets is not the most exciting gift ever. However, if that's on your registry and somebody else will buy that for you because you're going to need it, isn't that more helpful than somebody buying you something that perhaps you're not going to need? So it's just ways to strategize as a family, with your friends, with your folks. Also, over on my Patreon page, I've interviewed one of my dear friends, Joe De La Garza, and he talks about in the Hispanic community, they have a padrino. It's similar to a godfather. And he said padrinos are there to guide and to provide. And he said in the padrino culture, we don't really like to give money, but the registry is something. So that's where that came from. And I love, love, love that idea. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Elizabeth? Any other idea there for you?
Uh, Quite interesting to hear the GoFundMe because most I've seen about the GoFundMe was like medical procedures and stuff, and people can't afford that, and then they go and set up a GoFundMe for that. Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting to hear that they've set up that for college fees and that they actually are getting money.
Right, 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 right. So just a great way to let people know, hey, I need some help. And I don't
Yeah.
want to graduate under all that pressure with all this debt. And so OPM is king. Again, not OPM, but OPM is other people's money. When you think about it, every single one of us uses OPM every single day. If you are independently wealthy, that means you've either worked really, really hard, you've given up your time and your zone of genius and your expertise for a service or to develop a product that in turn somebody is taking their money to purchase, therefore it's other people's money. Or you're independently wealthy because you inherited the money, which is, of course, somebody else's money, right? And so it's OPM that makes the world go round. Now, here's the thing. I'm not aware of $46 billion with a B, $46 billion available out there to help you buy a car, to help you buy a home. But there is that much money here in the US for going to college. And so why not utilize all of that? Why not look at all the different opportunities and give yourself enough time to really investigate some of these things? I'll have some families that will say, it's April and my student is going to this school in August and, we need $50,000. I wish that there was some little code I could give you that would give you $50,000 a year. But it's just, as I said, it's more crockpot than Instapot. And so be thinking about this long on-ramp to making sure that you're not accruing all of this debt. Elizabeth, when I say more crockpot than Instapot, do you understand what I mean by that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a crock pot is it's a big ceramic pot that has a glass top, and you
Right.
plug it into the wall and you put in there like a roast or a
Yeah.
chili or a soup, and you turn it on and you let it cook for like 8 hours.
Right.
An Instapot is a pressure cooker. And so
Okay.
you can do like chicken cordon bleu in like 20 minutes. So you put in the chicken and the pasta and the things, and you do the pressure, and it does it
Right.
really fast. So what I mean
Okay.
about debt-free degree, it's more crock pot. It's going to take
Yeah.
a lot longer to put some of these things in place. It's just far
Please.
too easy here in the US and perhaps there in New Zealand to go to the financial aid office and just take the
Yeah.
take the loans. And so that's what I mean by that.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me explain that to you. So, Elizabeth, are you and your daughter committed to a debt-free degree? If the answer is yes, you're saying, yes, I want to graduate in the black. I want to have a nice, healthy piggy bank. I want to, start my professional career. Elizabeth's daughter will start her professional career, in a great place with a great foundation and not under a lot of debt. If the answer is no, then you see that little broken piggy bank down there. You see that we're starting at a deficit. You see how hard it is to pay off all of that money. Elizabeth, I don't want to put you on the spot since you're the only one, so you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. However, if your answer is yes, Elizabeth, for you and your daughter, I would love for y'all to be thinking about, what is your daughter's SM? What is going to be the way that she contributes to her college degree so that she's not taking on student loan debt? And then Elizabeth, for you, your family, your friends, the people y'all are familiar with, all the folks there in New Zealand that love your daughter so much, how are y'all going to come around her and help her? And then how are you going to strategize about using OPM, other people's money? Again, I'll pause if you want to say something, Elizabeth, but I don't want to put you on the spot. So if you want me to go on, I will go on.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's something to think about. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So thinking about your daughter, Elizabeth, what will she be? What will she do? And what will she have as a result of a debt-free degree? What will her relationships look like? What will her personal and financial growth look like? Does she even have time to have hobbies? What does her career look like? You just have so many more options with a debt-free degree. So I interviewed a young lady. She graduated completely debt-free. She did have a lot of FM that helped her, and then she got a really great scholarship for OPM, and so she was able to graduate debt-free. This was during COVID. Her roommate, however, did not have either one of those things. And her roommate graduated in the midst of the pandemic with a degree in fine arts. Like, I don't know if it was music or theater or art, but a degree in fine arts. And of course, there were no jobs to be had. And so the friend decided, I'll just stay here and get my master's. And so the friend accrued over $200,000 for that undergrad and the master's at this private institution. Now, the one that I interviewed, she's an entrepreneur, and it's hard. It's hard starting her own business. It's hard working for yourself. It's hard to grow that. However, her friend is working at a job that she hates. And so the lady that I interviewed said to her friend, why don't you just quit? I mean, you're always complaining about it. And the roommate looked at her and said, you have that freedom because you don't have this student loan debt, but I have to pay off these student loans. So I have to stay at this job because I'm making enough money to pay off my loans and try to pay my rent. And so I can only look for jobs that I make this amount of money and I know that it's coming in, because these loans are such a burden. It's just really something to think about. So a little bit about me. I have 3 degrees, including my Ph.D., and I only took $1,000 in loans. So I want you to avoid that average $75,000 in student loan debt. I have created a Patreon page, and I do at least 4 pieces of content a month, teaching videos, links, etc. It's just $10 US to join. And then as a part of that, you have full access to me. And just like these questions that I'm about to answer, you can ask me anything. And while my team helps me with Debt Free Degree and helps me with the videos and all of that, it's me that answers every one of those questions. So with that, Elizabeth, I will open it up to you first if you have questions, and then I'll dig into these 2.
Okay, so one of my first questions is these debt-free loans in the US, or debt-free degrees in the US that you can access. They're obviously for US citizens. Are they?
Excellent. Okay, so my company is called Debt Free Degree, and there are as many ways to earn a debt-free degree as there are students. And so it's just this blueprint. There are some scholarships out there that are primarily for US citizens. However, it's not impossible for international students to graduate debt-free.
Mhm.
It just takes a longer on-ramp. And
Okay.
there are a lot of programs out there that will say you have to have graduated high school in the US, or this is, for
Mhm.
US citizens, but it's not impossible. It just takes a lot more research.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for
welcome.
that.
You're welcome. Any other questions from you?
No, that's it from me.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So one of my Patreon members asked, what is the first step? I love, 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 love this question. The first step is begin with the end in mind. And so if you're a middle school student, you may be thinking, oh, I've heard a lot about Harvard. How much is Harvard per year? Or, oh, I've heard about the local state school. How much is that per year? Let me thinking about how much it is. I have one of my students sent me a comparison where he majored in engineering, and he compared 4 different schools, and the cost per semester is astounding. I think the lowest cost was like $7,000. That was taking some classes at a community college, and I think the highest per semester was in the like $40,000 range. And so really understanding where it is you are now, where you're heading, and how you're going to get there is really, really important. So begin with the end in mind, really have an idea. So again, as middle school students, you can just kind of be dreaming and kind of be thinking about it. As a high school student, you need to get a little more serious and say, am I willing to go into all this debt for this one particular degree or this one particular school? And so, really putting that in place and having that number. When the slide that I showed that had the total of $98,000, if you attended one of these schools that this student, and when I say he added up like how much internet would be, how much dry cleaning would be. I mean, he really added up all his expenses. And one of them, as I said, was, almost $40,000 a semester. And so if you think about that, even times 8 semesters, that's a tremendous amount of money that if you're taking student loans for that, how are you going to pay that back? So just be thinking about that and beginning with the end in mind, I think is so important. The second question that somebody submitted was strategies to reduce tuition. Now, Elizabeth, I have no idea how much, if any of these are available in New Zealand, but it is something for you to think about and investigate there. So number one, we have something called AP classes, which are advanced placement. Do y'all have those in New Zealand?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So that's one way to earn college credit. Now, students will say to me, I took the AP class, I made an A. However, I didn't score high enough on the test to get credit at the school where I want to attend. So one thing that you can do is something called CLEP, which is a college level examination program. And that is a credit by examination test. So much like AP. So let's say you didn't do well on the AP, you can get a CLEP study guide and then study for that test. Now, again, begin with the end in mind, because you want to make sure that the school where you want that credit to be counted accepts CLEP credit. Some do and some don't. A lot of them do, but there are some of the ones that are more prestigious, they don't accept CLEP credit. You have to have taken all your classes there. So that's something to think about. There's also something called FLATS, which is Foreign Language Assessment Test. It's through Brigham Young University, and they offer credit by examination for 33 different languages. So some people say, I'm not really great at foreign language. And oftentimes in the US, Elizabeth, you have to take a foreign language as part of your undergrad program. And so FLATS is a way that you can exempt some of that and get the credit by examination. Another way you can do that is in the summers, or perhaps, even during the semester, is to look at the school where you ultimately want to graduate from and do what's called transfer articulation. So you're looking at, do they offer this at another school? And if so, can I transfer it in? So you could look at a technical college or a community college where oftentimes the tuition rate is far less, the class size is much smaller, and it's an excellent opportunity to earn credit that you can then transfer back to your home institution. So those are a couple of ways to save money on tuition, and I'm delighted that I was asked that. So any other questions from you, Elizabeth?
No, nothing from me.
Excellent.
It's quite
Excellent.
interesting to hear. I will do some investigation here in New Zealand as well,
I
just
would
to see
love,
what's available.
yes, I would love to hear what you find out. And
Mhm.
I do these twice a month. And so feel
Okay.
free for you and your daughter to hop on and either ask some more questions or share your information. I'd be delighted to hear from y'all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Okay.
Debt Free Degree
Okay.
beloveds, we appreciate you so much. And until next time, thank you for joining the Debt Free Degree webinar. Y'all have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.